We are live.
We are live. Yay. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Carrie. My publication is Nine to Thrive, and I help people turn one newsletter into multiple income streams on Substack. So that's what I do. I'm a coach, I'm a business owner. I was in the corporate world for 18 years as a pretty senior corporate communications and marketing professional at a Fortune 500 company and then subsequently a private company. I left that a couple years ago to start my own marketing agency, and now I'm offering coaching because I figured out how to help people make a lot of money from a free newsletter.
Yay.
Yeah. And so today I'm joined by Karl. He is the founder of the Fire Team Canine Dog Training publication. And Karl, why don't you go ahead and tell folks what you do and how you can help them?
Sure thing. Well, so I live here in Edmonton, Alberta, but I do, in-person group and online dog training. But primarily, my background is coaching. So I approach the publication through Substack and the emails and all of that stuff from a coaching perspective, using story to help people understand how to develop and build a relationship with their dogs, so that the unwanted or troublesome behaviors that people have with their dogs eventually go away.
Yeah. And we're going to get into some dog stories in a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit. But I see Larry from my chat community has joined. Hi, Larry. Thank you for joining us. Um, yeah, my community on chat is a place where we talk about all kinds of things that are, hampering people's growth. And I try to give tips every week. And we do notes boosts and we have fun conversations there.
Hmm.
So that's where I actually met Karl. Um, but I did want to talk about, I'm relentless about messaging.
Yeah.
We talked about that the other day. I'm like
Hmm.
obsessed with how you message because that makes all the difference in whether or not people stay on your publication or leave. So, yes, you can teach a dog how to sit and stay and all this, but that's not the focus of your publication. Your publication is really focused on the relationship between the dog and the owner and building that trust and that bond. Um, and so, how do you message to that to get everything aligned and get people in and interested?
I do it through story, really.
Yeah.
I and on I, almost everything I do on Substack, I try to use story in one manner or another. So whether it's a long form message, I definitely use a story about a dog and a situation with a dog or a family, and then I develop that into the things that we've done in order to shift and change behaviors or to change the environment for the dog and the family, so that people can not only like connect with the story, but they can learn through the process of reading the story, and then they come out of the publication with not only something that potentially entertained them or caught their emotions, but at the same time, it's something that they can learn from and take away. So there's always something that I leave people with, from the perspective of, here's the story, but here's what you can take out of it, and here's what you can do going forward that can make a difference. And then, of course, like I said, I come to it from a coaching perspective. So it's not only, like you said, is teaching a dog a sit or a down or a recall, but it's teaching, uh, you know, the why around all that stuff. But it's also helping people understand that it's not necessarily the dog we're training; it's usually the humans we're training. Right, and so there's behavior change, and there's shifting and changing our environments and the way we do things, and so that's typically the approach. And funny you mentioned this. I see Christy Keller showed up there. Hi, Christy. Um, she sent me a note this morning about one of my posts about recall, and I sent a video in there, and I was showing how the various different forms of recall that I have, and one of them is I simply stop walking, and my dog eventually figures out that I've stopped walking, and then she comes back to me. So that's about the engagement and the relationship that we have, the trust that we have with each other, that she can have freedom and independence. But when she gets too far away and I stop, she eventually recognizes that and comes back to me. So that's a prime example of how we use engagement and relationship to shift and change behavior with our dogs. Thanks,
Yeah.
Christy.
Yeah, I see Christy on there, and I see my friend Larry joined, so, it's always nice to see familiar faces when you're doing a live.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, in terms of growing your publication, how long have you been on, and how's that going for you so far?
I think I'm in my fourth week, and it's slowly going. In terms of numbers, it's slowly building, but more importantly to me, I'm building relationships. And example,
Yeah.
meeting with you, um, I met with Christy last week, Christy Keller. We had a live. I met yesterday with another individual, so that we can have. We're booked a live for next week, but I'm slowly building those conversations with people, and in my community in the chat too. A Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I post something, and I'm seeing more engagement and more interactions with people. So right now, I'm in the 20s, I think, with subscribers. Um, but for right now, it's more important for me to be seeing, more engagement and more conversations with people, and that's the approach right now.
You got it. So what levers are you pulling to get more growth? What specifically is like your workflow every week? How many times do you publish? Are you on notes? I know you're in my community chat and probably others too.
Yeah, yeah. So on my own, so on the Fire Team Canine dog training, so I use notes, probably 2 to 3 notes a day that I post, and they're generally related to dog training. Sometimes they're personal. It just might be something personal that I thought about. So I post that out, and then I engage with whatever comments show up there. But I also, attend to notes on a regular basis throughout the day when I have opportunities. And there's usually a period of about an hour in the evenings when I sit out on my front deck and just work through the notes and connect with people and respond to everybody. Um, my newsletter is generally once a week, and it may have a bonus post here and there. But I'm also using the blog style thing where I'm not, like, I'm posting, but I'm not posting that into the newsletter, so to speak. So there's publications happening behind the scenes that people can view. So, for example, right now I'm moving through 12 chapters of a little book that I'm writing, so that it's something that all of my clients. I'm eventually going to package it together that I can give to my clients as a resource for all of the things we do with the fundamentals of the dog training.
Oh, that's a great idea. So
Yeah,
that's
so there's quite a variety of things that I'm involved in. Yeah.
yeah. And you are employed, right? You're This is sort of a side business for you. How is that with time management?
Mm. People ask me all the time, "How do you do it?" Um, I wake up early. I wake up early every day, and I do something with my dog. That's the first thing I do. Then I go to work. I work 8-hour days, Monday to Friday, as a nurse, and then, but most days I have about an hour break, so I take that time for myself. I go for a workout, go do a steam in the steam room, and then in the evening, that's when I do most of my work on Substack and my writing. So it's an opportunity for me to pour some specific time into what I'm doing with Substack. Um, and it's usually about an hour from about 8:30 to 9:30 at night. But if the Oilers are playing, then I have to watch them because the Stanley Cup fever around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on my breaks here and there, when I get opportunities, yesterday my daughter had some dental surgery, so I had opportunity there to sit in the waiting room and dive into Substack for a while. So I do my best to manage it, to approach it from the perspective of, I'm working on very specific things on specific times, specific days. But then when I have the opportunities once in a while, I'll jump in and respond or throw something extra in there.
Yeah, great. So you're on some other social media platforms as well, right?
Hmm.
Why don't you talk about how you use those to drive people over to Substack? And I was I can't even imagine. I'm just on two right now. And it's a lot. And I had a client I was coaching yesterday, and she's telling me she's on 3. She's on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Mhm,
And she's trying to grow and just working full time also in the medical industry, and is, really struggling. And I kind of guided her. I said, well, let's break it down. What can you automate, delegate, or, into 3 buckets, right? Automate, delegate, and the things you must do yourself.
mhm.
And once we started doing that, she could see a lot of things that she could automate or delegate. And hopefully, I'm going to, get back with her on her next call and see how it's going. So, do you do any of those things? I think you do everything yourself, though, don't you? Somewhat.
I do everything myself,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I so YouTube is where I put a lot of my a lot of my long form videos that I will eventually use for my clients. So, for example, if I have somebody that's having trouble with loose leash walking, the dog is pulling on the leash.
Mm.
What I'll do is I'll create videos that I know I'm going to have to share with other clients down the road because it's a very common problem. And I have them, whether it's public or unlisted on YouTube, and then I can just copy paste links and pass them on to people. But the other thing that I did with Substack is I have a page with 11 videos as a welcome. So when people subscribe to my newsletter, what they'll get is a link to go to this other page that has a list of 10 fundamental drills and a bonus video that show like all of the fundamental things on how to work with dogs. So that's one way I use YouTube. Um, Instagram, I kind of use Instagram just as I post things here and there. There's no structure to it. And then Facebook, I have a Facebook group, and that's primarily for local people that I'm working with. So if I'm working with somebody locally, they all get plunked into the Facebook group, and I use that as an opportunity to share information with that whole group, like when our next group session is, that type of stuff. So it's YouTube that I would be using to move people or direct people to Substack.
Yeah. I did see your resource page, and I think that's a really great idea. If you ever have, I'm actually building out right now for myself a page like that with a lot of resources that my paid members can access.
Mhm.
That's really important to have.
Yeah,
So,
it serves it saves a lot of time, right? Instead of taking 10 videos all the time and doing it's always the same things, right? And so I just have to click a link and say, here's your free gift, or here's go to this
yep,
place and you have all the answers that you need to get started, right? And that's another thing. If I have a local client or an online client, I can say, okay, take this, watch these videos, start working with these things because these are the fundamental things that we're going to be working on, whether it's in person or online.
yeah. It's like dog training 101. Like, here's the basics that we don't need to spend our time,
Yeah.
with the coaching on, because you can learn it from these videos. So,
Hmm.
and that's a great approach. I love that approach. Really makes
Yeah.
sense.
And you and I were talking the other day about, just using sections and tags
Mhm.
on like the Substack. I guess you call it a website, right? The Substack platform.
I call it the homepage. I think
Yeah.
it's more like it's hybrid, right? It's hybrid
Hmm.
blog, landing page,
Yeah, it's a bit of
website.
everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, after our conversation that you and I had the other day, I'm trying to fine tune some of those things in there and work with some of that and maybe adding sections or using tags, but I still don't fully understand it yet. I'm still a novice and a newbie here on Substack, but I'm one of those people that if I don't understand it, I just keep pushing buttons until I figure it out. Um, and in the process, I learn. So yeah.
Yeah. It's really great for someone like you who has different levels or maybe different issues people are facing, where you can, especially as you grow and get more posts coming in to
Hmm.
your homepage, it gets confusing after about 50 for people.
Hmm.
And that's when you start needing to build out those sections so that you can kind of like route people to the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do it through tags or sections or pages. There's a bunch of different ways, but yeah, it's a good tool to use. Oh, who do I hear?
There's Piper.
Piper.
She's got to go tell someone to get off the front yard, I think.
Okay, protecting the property.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
That's your
shepherds will
job,
do.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that you and I did the other day when we had our call. When you shared the screen and you were showing me various things in there, that was really helpful because, um, Substack being new for a lot of people, or not, or someone who's been there for a long time might not know all the features. So having the opportunity to connect with somebody like you, who has a really good understanding of it, or it's quite helpful to then understand some of the pieces of the the tools of the platform, so to speak, and how to use them.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that take some getting used to. Substack is really not like any other social media platform. It's so different, but then once you get to know it, it's so logical at the same time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, very
Yeah, I've had
useful.
a few aha moments over this last week. I can't remember what day it was, but I finally understood, how uh, notes worked, and then I eventually understood how I can post a long form post without it going to my subscribers. So
Yes.
instead of because I could sit out on my front deck and write a post and send it every day, but that would uh, bombard my subscribers, and then they would unsubscribe because there's too many things coming to their inbox, right?
Yes.
So now I know I can set it as a blog post where people, if they really want to, they can go in and they can look at it on their own time.
Yeah, it's a really tiny thing, but there's a box that's default checked that
Yeah,
says email my subscribers.
yeah,
And I also, when I started months ago, I didn't know that I could uncheck that box,
hmm,
but you can. And
yeah.
then it doesn't email them. It allows you to just post. So,
Yeah. Yeah, Christy
um,
Christy just said that would overwhelm us, and I think Christy was one of my first subscribers, and she was actually my first paid subscriber too. Thank you, Christy.
oh,
But I think I potentially overwhelmed her in the, in the early days because I didn't realize that, those little pieces, and I was posting, I think every day. I think I posted a couple times in one day, but then I eventually learned, oh, I better settle down here and find new ways to do this. So that's where the
yeah,
community side of it it comes in handy. The chat, right? I love the chat because you can take things and slide them in there, and then have that conversation with everybody on the threads. I figured that out 2 weeks ago, and how that works, and it's actually set up the way that I was looking for it to be set up with other platforms.
nice. Yeah. I'm actually going to do a boot camp in 2 weeks, the end of the month, a 3-day boot camp um, about exactly what we're talking about. All the levers you can pull to grow that don't necessarily come naturally and aren't intuitive. So I'm really looking forward to that. You see my chat. Everybody wants to know how to use notes, how to do this, how to do that.
Hmm.
I think this will really help clear it up for a lot of people. Um, as so many people are coming on lately, and they're new, and they just don't understand how everything works. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's going to be a 3-day boot camp. Really, hopefully, valuable stuff for people to get them really going.
Yeah, that'll be really helpful.
Yeah.
It's all helpful. Like even what you said in your chat the other day about the notes, right? And the various different forms of notes and how to use them. And it's not in terms of manipulating the notes to manipulate people. It's actually using notes to connect, but on a better level, on a deeper level with people. And so I've sort of formatted a few of my notes based on your feedback, and I actually quite liked
Nice.
the way they were formatted, just on my own, and it was my own tweaks, but it was quite nice to see a little bit of difference.
Um, so many people um, try to do notes like Twitter, and it's
Hmm.
not quite the same. There are definitely formats that work better than others, but I have met so many nice people in my notes conversations. But just this morning, I met a gal. She turned a series of short, humorous stories into a play.
Huh.
And yeah, and I mean, how interesting is that? So I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, join my community." So
Yeah.
we, I just get into conversations with people and then they lead to collaboration, which collaboration is a great way to grow on Substack, like what we're doing
Mm,
right now or guest
yeah.
posting. Some people do the cross posting, but I haven't done that yet. I'm really since that's where I'll take your post and just share it with my people.
Mhm.
But the reason I don't do that is for the exact reason you cited earlier. I don't want to overwhelm my
Mhm.
audience with too many emails because I feel like I'm already sending my newsletters out twice a week. And then I send other things out too periodically. If I'm
Mhm.
doing a boot camp or a launch of my Substack 360 program or something like that, I will, start emailing them again too. And nobody wants to hear from me that much.
Well, if you have a lot of like that's the thing, right? If you have a lot of value and you're passionate about the information that you can share, you just want to share it.
I
But you
know.
you have to be careful, right? And that's the thing that I always find, like I just want to keep sharing the information because I'm so passionate about it. But yeah, I have to temper myself a little bit. So that's the beauty of scheduling, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned that with the scheduling with the long form posts, the newsletter, which is great because now I'm scheduled months ahead because I have the series that I'm working on is how dogs learn, and so I have 10 episodes or 10 newsletters about how dogs learn the various different
Mhm.
things. I'm talking about environment and genetics and operant conditioning and all of that stuff. Um, so it provides
Oh,
story
yeah.
in each one of them, but then it also provides learning, and then it provides actionable steps that people can take. And so they
Oh,
go through a
yeah.
series of things. Now they understand why dogs learn. Potentially they figure out, oh, now I know why my dog is doing that, right?
Yep.
And they can create changes. So,
So that would make a great section, right?
mhm,
To put all those in a section, how dogs learn section,
yeah.
series, or whatever you call it. Yeah, I think that's great.
Now I have to figure out how to do sections.
I'll help you. We'll get on it. Oh, no worries. I got you. Anyway, so Carl, before we go, we've had quite a nice group of people out here. If anybody has questions, now's your chance. But I wanted to ask Carl to share a great dog story
Hmm.
with us.
Hmm.
Any
Like,
tough cases you've helped the humans solve, or
yeah,
just funny dog
many,
stories? Yeah, many, I'm sure.
many. I'll share a story about one dog that still working with them. I received a desperate phone call many months ago from a family that they had this dog, which is it's a border collie mastiff mix. So in the wrong hands and in the wrong environment, without fulfillment, that dog can be a problematic dog. And
Mhm.
oh, I see a question there too. So watch that question.
Okay.
Single most effective strategy for audience building when you first started. Let's look
Yeah.
at that. But the story is the dog was resource guarding one of the family members. And so the other family members couldn't get near the one family member it was resource guarding. And then that led to the dog attacking, but not biting at this point, family members. So we had to figure out, the dynamic in the household. So I did house visits, uh, all of that stuff. We had to figure out how the each family member was interacting and working with the dog. And then over time, we got to the point where the relationship from each family member built to the point where the dog was trusting each of them. The resource guarding decreased, and now each of those family members can work with the dog. They fully trust the dog. The dog can go out into public like it wasn't able to in the past,
Oh, wow.
um, and it's just one of those success stories where they had a dog that was actually they were actually considering euthanizing, And
Wow.
now they can come out to my group classes. Now they can take the dog for a walk in the neighborhood. Now they can trust the dog in their house. When people come over, they don't have to worry about it. And so, that's a story that I think is what most dog trainers, um, I mean, we love that work, right? Because we want to see the shift and change in the home environment first of all, and then out into the community.
Mm.
And it's quite nice to see now how that situation has shifted and changed, because now I can trust their dog, and it makes a significant difference in
Oh,
how
yeah.
people move around the house and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much takes so much stress away.
Hmm.
I used to have a little dog. I foster dogs. I
Hmm.
take sick ones and rehab them, and then they go to their happy home,
Hmm.
which is like brings me a lot of joy. But I actually owned a dog for a while. Um, well, until the end of its life. But it was a little dog. It was a Maltese mix, and it was fine with other little dogs, but it wanted to take on the big dogs when we were out walking.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that was a trust issue with me now that I've been talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that dog didn't feel like I could protect it against a big dog somehow.
Yeah. When I teach a lot of advocacy for dogs, spatial advocacy, that type of stuff. But also, I'll give you another story really quickly. I don't know if I told you this. I was telling somebody this. I was walking down a busy road. I think it was you I was telling, and there was a white van coming by with a dog in it, the window half down.
Yeah.
And my instinct said that dog is jumping out and coming after us. And
Oh,
sure enough, I
okay.
heard a thump. The dog coming after us, barking, tail up, hackles up, and full speed at us. I told my dog, going to down. I stood in front of my dog and I dealt with the other dog. So if my dog didn't trust me, my dog wouldn't have allowed that to happen, right? But
Yeah.
it took a long time of building up trust and engagement with my dog so that situation could happen, and nothing bad came out of it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great story.
Hmm.
That's a scary story for both the humans and the dogs.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because you don't know if you're gonna get a bite, from that dog
yeah.
coming up.
Very well could have been myself or my dog or a dog fight or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So let's address the question before we go. And let's see, I would appreciate hearing from each of you the single most effective strategy for audience building when you first started. I mean, I can go first
Yeah.
because,
Go ahead.
Substack has really great metrics. And I had first I had no growth like everybody. But then once I started doing certain things, tapping into my tag, revising my tagging strategies, I started my chat community. I started my recommendation strategy. I started notes. I discovered that I had a big growth spurt where I grew to like 3,000 people, 3,000 subscribers in 3 months. It was really unbelievable. But once I figured out kind of the levers to pull, it's not just one thing, it's across lots of things, but I think the one that did it the most was notes, because I looked at my analytics and, I'm because have such a long marketing background and I've evolved with all these technologies, I'm a real data nerd. So I love doing data analysis. There's AI tools now that help you with that. And I discovered that 71% of my new subscribers come from notes. That's huge.
Hmm.
That's a huge number. Um, so that for me, it was a combination of things, but I would say notes is where the real joy is happening.
Yeah.
And my boot camp is going to cover a full day on notes
Oh wow.
and how to use it. So that'll be day 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And was it Danielle that asked that
It's
question?
Danielle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Danielle.
Um, I don't. So I'm only in the 20s of subscribers, so I don't have thousands like you do and some of the others here. But I I'm a connector and I'm a relationship builder just by my nature. Um, and I'm a storyteller. So I think for me, the best way for me to be like the most growth I've seen, or seeing the analytics and stuff on the back end of things, it's when I interact with people through notes and through the community, so through the
Yeah.
chats. I'm getting more interactions when I ask people questions rather than bringing it all onto me, right? Instead of saying, "Yeah, I did this," or "I do that," it's shifting the narrative into asking people questions about them, uh, and but also pointing out how amazing the Substack community is, and uh, it's from my perspective, it's all about just building relationships in whatever way you can, whether it's in the chat or whether it's in the comment sections. But more importantly, I think it's happening in notes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that I can build a community in my chat. And I don't paywall my community. Some people can do that. I might do that. I was thinking about that. Should I open up for my boot camp? Should I just do like a school community or something like that? And then I thought, no, let me just do it through my chat.
Yeah.
People can share links to what they're working on or ask questions there. So I'm going to, I think, test that out in my upcoming boot camp and see how that goes. But, I really do work hard at growing my community. Like you see me, Carl, every day I'm in there, like doing conversation starter, offering some like a notes boost or office hours where anybody can ask me things. Um, and I've just met some amazing people and I'm not afraid to jump on calls, like let's have a coffee chat just
Mhm.
because and see if we can collaborate like you and I did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are all good things to grow.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing, like reaching out to people and saying, "Hey, you want to have a conversation about doing a live?" And I just connected with Holly Cook yesterday,
Awesome.
because she's in the dog training world too. She was a dog trainer, she's a dog walker, she does dog photography. So we would have a really she said we might have to
Wow.
do it. We might have to put limits on the time because we'll talk about dogs all day. Um, but we're also going to talk about it from the perspective of working on Substack, and the various different niches that people have, because Substack's amazing. People have all kinds of really neat niches that they're working with, and they
Yeah.
they tell stories about their niche. And if you're drawn to it, that's one thing that I'll add to that last question too. Is one mistake I think on social media in general is we try to look for the people that are doing the same thing as us, rather than a broader approach and connecting with people in general and just creating relationships. So if I'm
Right.
only looking for people doing dog training, I'm looking for the wrong crowd, because they're looking for the same people I'm looking for,
Right.
right? I need to look for the people who have dogs, right?
Yeah.
Or just simply people like you who want to help people build and grow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you were in my community, so I always like to support people in my community
Hmm.
by doing a live or something because you're really consistent in there. And I would encourage people to like the way to use communities is to find a few people you really like and participate in their communities in their chat, and then you could start your own too. So and through notes, I invite a lot of people into my chat. Some days chat's just really quiet. Like I think this week, a lot of people's kids are graduating from high school and, school's out and it's
Hmm.
kind of a transition week here in the US. So I think a lot of people were busy with that. But um, yeah, some days are quiet, some days are just booming in the chat. But I just love it. It's where I get to know the best people for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that's for me. That's where I want everybody to come, because that's what I want. I want a community of people who are learning and growing together,
Yeah.
and sharing their stories and their experiences and asking questions. And then I can support all of that, with all of the tools that I have as a coach and a dog trainer, but just a guy who likes to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Carl. It's been so great. I'm glad we met and here to help you grow your Substack and let me know if you want to help with those sections, getting those sections set up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. All right. Well, have a great day, and thank you everybody who joined. I love seeing all of you pop in, and thanks for the questions. It's
Yeah,
been
it was
great.
fun. Hopefully, I get to connect with some of these folks going forward. So say
Yeah.
hi to me.
Yeah, same. Say hi to me. Come in the chat.
Yay! Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.